What's up, you little dingbats? We're going to talk about blind and how it works. Cube is A, B. We're just going to talk about corners first. Corners! A, B, C, D. So it's just the alphabet going clockwise. Now, what I want you to do is a Y perm without the F moves at the beginning and end. So you're going to do a Y perm, but take that first F move out of the equation. I'll put it on the screen there. So let's take a look at where A goes when we do this Y perm without the F moves. This is now A. And what has risen to A's spot is this friend, which is red, green, yellow, which was here. Red, green, yellow, the red and the white have swapped. Our A has swapped with this one here. And that's the only algorithm you need to know to get corners where they need to go, basically. And if you do it again, the cube is just solved. So these two pieces switch. They swap out with each other. So basically all you're doing is you're just putting other pieces here. If we want to get this piece over there, we just do a D move and it's there. You know what I mean? So it's like, bam. We're like, I want this one to swap with this one. And then we just put it where this one is, do the alg. And then we just move that back where it was. So now you'll notice that I have my A is here, and now this piece is up there. Pretty rad. Don't worry about the edges, by the way. They don't matter right now. So if we want to get A back up here, and in this case, we're really putting this back there. But basically, like you can see, okay, well, this is green, orange, yellow. So this green needs to go here. And I have an alg that will swap it with this one. So I need green. This should be green. I need the green face to go here and then do the alg. And then boom, you've got that green face there. And then you just replace it there. You can do this with every corner. And I would suggest even stopping this video and doing that right now. Kind of experimenting, because each corner has three faces, you know. So like this one, if we want to get this one there, it's pretty easy. We just do that to set it up. This is called a setup move. If we want this one to be there, we do this. If we want this one to be there, we do this. So, and this one was pretty easy too, because it's just a D move, right? But when you get into like, getting this one there, it requires two moves, because you can get it over on this face. But then it has to go here, so you have to do that. So that's two setup moves instead of one. So you have to remember at the end to do that, basically to move this back here and then replace it there. The only rule when you're doing setups is you can't move this piece right here. You know, if you want B, for example, you can pull, because this doesn't move, you can pull B back here and then do that, and then B is suddenly over there, you know. They're usually two moves away from what I know. At this point, you should be able to kind of do a corners only scramble. So let's do it real quick. Let's do without stepping any further. The only thing we know really is that A is here and it swaps with that. We know that the modified Y perm will swap those two. And I think it's really important to get a feel for these concepts before moving on to like learning all of the concepts. All right, so let's scramble this. All right, there we go. So this is the corners only scramble. You'll notice that all the edge pieces are solved. It is on the screen down here, so go ahead and follow along. So typically when you're doing blind, it's scramble orientation. So you track from green front, white top. Orientation doesn't matter. You can really do whatever you're comfortable with. Your goal is to be able to identify what the location of a piece, where a piece should go quickly, you know. So in this case, I know that yellow is on my bottom. So whatever this corner is, I don't know what the back right is, or the back left is, but I do know that this is going to go on one of these four faces down here, because I know white's on top. And if it has blue in it, I know it's going to be one of those two back there. So your orientation is really just how comfortable are you being able to know instinctually where things are going to be going. So I know that like this piece is going to be on this face. I don't know exactly where yet, but it will be on that face. The quicker you can do that, the better off you are. So if you started with like green cross, maybe this might be a good orientation for you. But most of the time, it's a safe bet to go with green front, white top. You can feel free to experiment with that. But most people are going to be using this And unless there's like a really big advantage that you have on another color, I wouldn't really use anything other than this. We only know one thing here. We know this algorithm that will switch this piece with that piece. That's literally all we know. We don't even know spefs or what these letters mean. But we do know a couple of things about the Rubik's Cube. This piece has one specific spot that it needs to go. And if it isn't in that spot, it's not solved. So basically you can imagine using this algorithm here, the modified Y-perm, all we're doing is solving these one at a time. That's all that's happening here. Is there is a single place that this needs to go and we're putting it there, right? And we're putting it there by taking this sticker, the yellow one, the spot that's A, and replacing it with this one over here, right? So where is this? This is green, orange, yellow, which is, we find our centerpieces, green, orange, yellow. That only has one spot that it can be, and it's here. It needs to go right here. It has to go right there, right? Which means we have to move this piece, which is down here. It's on the bottom face to the left. This needs to go here. And to switch them, we have to move this piece here, right? This needs to go there. This is a pretty easy case. You can probably figure out how to get this to there. We just do an F prime. So we put where this needs to go into this position, and then we do our modified Y-perm, and then we undo that move that we just did to move this back up here. And you'll see that this piece is now solved. And then we take a look at the next piece, right? We have red, blue, yellow. So that's also going to be somewhere on the bottom face, but it's going to be on the bottom and the back because my front is green. So red is on the right side. So it's going to be here because it's the blue sticker of red, blue, yellow. So this is now the target, I guess. Like you need to put this right here so you can swap them. And when we swap this, it's going to solve the corner. It's really fucking cool, honestly. So all we do is we get this piece here by doing this move. And then we're going to swap those two and then move it back. And then back. And it's solved. It's like fucking magic, dude. So now we've got this piece here. And it needs to, it's white, so it's going to be on the top. It's going to be one of these three other pieces. And it needs to go here, right? So this is a two mover. This is one you have to use two moves to do. But basically, we need to get this right here. So we move this piece to the R face, and then we put it into this position instead of that position. And then we do the algorithm. And then we move this back up here and then put it back over there. And suddenly that piece is also solved. So we can keep going here. Oh, this is interesting. So you'll notice that in our position here, we have a solved corner. This is called a buffer. Our buffer is solved, which means what do we do now? We still have unsolved pieces on the cube, you know? What's important to know is that whenever we have a solved buffer, whenever this piece is solved, all we do is we just chuck another unsolved piece into it. It can be any piece. I personally go for the next available piece. So I go for B if it's available. If B's solved, I go for C. But you can do it any way you want. You can go for this one back here just because it's fun to do. You can do this one here, all that good stuff. Let's start here. Let's just get this one out of there. Basically, our goal here is to get an unsolved piece into A because A is already solved and the cube is not solved. So I'm going to put this over here with an R2, swap them out. And then do another R2. And now we have an unsolved piece here, and it needs to go somewhere on the bottom face, and there's green and red, and it's going to go here because it's green, red, yellow, and it is the green part of that. So we need to get this right here, you know, and we can do that by moving this to the R face like that, and then putting this in that position. So then we do our alg to swap these out. And then we just move this back to that position. You'll notice that it's solved, and we have an unsolved corner up here now, which is really great. So we're just going to keep this up, and we've got red, white, blue, and that's going to be here somewhere. And we're looking for the blue sticker. So we need to move this over here. And there's a few ways to do that, but I just use this one and then that one. So you're pulling this sticker to the top face and then doing an F move to put it in that location, do the algorithm, undo those moves, And boom, that piece is solved. And boom, we've got this one. We've got a twisted buffer now. So our buffer is twisted and the cube is still not solved, which is big sad. So you'll notice that we've got 3 unsolved corners here, right? So you'll notice that this is called a corner twist. It's in the right spot, but the stickers aren't in the right spot. Dang. So let's just treat this as if it's a new cycle break, which it is. This is our second cycle break because our buffer has ended up back in its spot yet again. So we're going to treat this as if this is solved, and we're just going to, let's use this one. So what we're going to do is just switch these 2 out so we can have an unsolved corner back there. And we're going to do that and then undo the move that we did to do that. So now we have this here and it needs to go here, right? So it needs to go here and we can just do that and then put it there, right? And then boom, it's solved. Either way, we still don't have a solved cube yet because we still have a twist here. This corner is going to be twisted if we have other twisted corners. So we have to take care of those corners. We haven't done anything back here yet. So if you do a D2, one of these is going to end up over here, basically. So no matter what, this is not where it's supposed to be. So we got to switch something out with something. So we're just going to do a D2 and we've got this corner here now. So now we can kind of figure out what's going on. So really all that needs to happen at this point is when we do the algorithm, this is going to get up there and then it's going to need to end up back here. You know what I mean? Because when it goes up there, its spot is right here. It's twisted. It's in the right spot, but it's not oriented or permuted correctly or oriented correctly, whatever. So basically we're just going to pull this up there and treat it like any other corner. Now we have this up here and it needs to get solved to here. So we now need to get this one here by doing this. This comes with intuition. You eventually kind of start doing it more and more and you'll get a feel for like how to set cubes up, moves up for cubes. And you'll see if I wasn't, oh no, that's the unsetup move. Yeah, no, there we go. And now we have a solved cube. I think it's really important for you to get a feel for corner solving because solving corners is really fun. And it gives you a feel for, how to how this method is going to be working. You know, that's great and everything, but how do you do it with your eyes closed? So let's use this same scramble as an example. All right, so let's take a look at the same scramble here. How would we do this blind? We just did it sighted, which is really great. And you can see how straightforward that is. But how do we track all of that with our eyes closed? I think it's a lot simpler than people might anticipate in that we already kind of know this counterclockwise alphabet system, right? A, B, C, D. That gives you a letter to associate each sticker with, basically, like each face location. A, B, C, D. So if I need to swap A with C, all I do, we know that it swaps with this piece here. All I do is I put C right there, swap them up, and then put it back, and then I've swapped A and C. That's what we're doing, is just switching pieces out. And with D, you know, I could do F and then that would put D right there. And that's why I think it's important before you even learn this system to learn how to swap every face of every corner into this position and then swap it out. So we have A, B, C, D. That's how we call these stickers here. And that's really all you need to know as a concept, is that it goes clockwise and it uses the alphabet. Conceptually, if you can understand that this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D, then you're pretty much done. But we just have to know the order of how we continue this lettering system. Experiment with making your own system, because really all it is taking every face of the cube and every piece on the face and corners in this case, and giving them something that you can remember. In this case, we're going to be using letters to do that. A, B, C, D. And then where we go from there is the left face. So we go from the top face to the left face. And you can kind of just picture the rotation that we're going to be doing here. What is that? X, I think that's a Y rotation, Y prime. And then we continue E, F, G, H. So it goes from the top face, A, B, C, D, and then it goes to the left face, E, F, G, H. And then it goes around the cube at that point, clockwise from the left face. I'm an audio engineer, so for me, left is kind of like mono. You know, if you have one channel, it's going to be left. So I kind of that's how I remember to go to the left face first. So it's E, F, G, H, and then I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. And then we continue to rotate to the back here. I'm going to hold it like this still because it's important, because that's how I kind of note them in my head. And I don't want to confuse by rotating the back to the front. So it's Q, R, S, T. Q being here, R being there, S being here, and T being there. So let's just review that. And I would suggest kind of like sitting down with this idea, looking at the cube, pointing to a letter, and then figuring out what that is. It's not a matter of not knowing it, but how quickly can you figure out, like run through the concept and recall it, you know? So in this case, you're going to be like, okay, well, this is some letter that's not A or D. It's, you know, A, and then over here is like blah. It takes a while in the beginning to get a feel for where these letters are. But yeah, you can, even with just this, it's not about doing it quickly. It's about making sure that you can get it right, which I think is really critical in blind solving. It's not about doing it quickly. It's about making sure that you can get it right, because you get rewarded by getting it right. If you get everything right in 15 minutes and you get like one thing wrong in 3 minutes, you're gonna much prefer getting everything right in 15 minutes. Speed comes with time. So we have Q, R, S, T back here. And then last but not least, we have our bottom face. The bottom face is U, V, W, X. A lot of people will play around with the letters on their bottom face because X is weird, and they'll replace it. And Q is also the same way. People will replace sounds, but conceptually, you get the idea. Use what works for you at this point. It's pretty straightforward. We have 4 letters for each face, you know, and it's in the alphabet. Now, in the standardized system, something that helped me get faster at knowing what the letter was going for the first letter of each face. A is here, right? E is there. As long as I know where to start on a face, I'm usually quicker with it. So A, E, I, those are, you know, vowels. So I'm like A, E, I, cool. This is N, I, J, K, L, M. Sorry. I still get these mixed up. This is M, and this is Q, and then this is U. So U, V, W, X. So know the first letters, A, E, I, M, Q, U. And then you can just kind of continue from there, because if you go to the back face, you're like Q. So instead of going like, you know, instead of counting all the way around, you know, to get to what is this letter, it's Q, you can just know this is Q. So then when you're looking for this sticker, it's like, oh, Q, R, S. And then boom, that's S, set up for S, and then blah, blah, blah. So yeah, that's how SPEFS works. So where does this piece need to go? Now, instead of saying it needs to go here or down there, we're actually going to be using the letter this time, right? So this piece is green, orange, yellow. There's orange, green, yellow. It needs to go here. This is U. So instead of saying this piece needs to go there, we're going to just say U, right? U is where this goes. And then we ask our question, what is currently in the position U? What is currently here is blue, red, yellow, right? Where does this need to go? It's going to be on the back face, and it's going to be back here, right? So this is where it needs to go. So we have URS or QRST, right? So it needs to go to T. So now we have 2 letters that we have in our head, basically, is U and T, right? So what we can do here is actually close our eyes and do our first blind cubing thing. We're going to first set up to U, or set up for U, and then we're going to put U where P goes, do the L, and then put P back to U, and then set up to T, and then do the L, and then undo our setup to T. And you'll notice that this is solved and that is solved. So that's what the process looks like when we're solving blind. We take letter pairs and we execute them. Start with 2 and get really good at doing 2, and then add in to 4. Be like, I'm going to go for 4 pieces this time. in these corners only scrambles. I'm going to go for 4 pieces this time. And that's a really nice way to do it because you're progressively going to be getting better while making not many mistakes. Now we can just continue this process, right? So where does this go? I want you to try to answer this question before I tell you. This piece is now what is in our A position. So where does this piece need to go on the cube? What letter does this need to go to? You know what I mean? That's correct. It's going to D. So we're going to be putting this, this piece in D, and you'll notice that this is the same thing that we ran into last time, but we were actually solving it last time. This is what it looks like before you're solving. It's like, oh shit, I know that this needs to go here, but my buffer is there. Darn you, buffer. If I switch you two, then it's just going to be solved and the cube won't be solved. So this is called a cycle break. And you switch with this, and then just like I said earlier, you pick at this point any random unsolved letter that you need to pick. So because we know our buffer is solved, so we have to pull an unsolved piece in there. So basically 1/2 of this letter pair is going to be solving a piece, and the other half will be moving an unsolved piece into our buffer, kind of unsolving a piece. So we can do, our first one is D, and then we can pick any of these as our next one, right? In this case, we know the previous scramble has 2 corner twists. So these aren't unsolved, they're unoriented, which means if we move one of those into the corner, we're just going to be orienting them and then looking for another unsolved piece to solve. So this is unoriented, but is solved, quote unquote. And this is the same way. So I don't want to use either of those to, swap with. I want to use one of these, which are unsolved. They're not even in the right location. They're just all in the wrong spot. So I'm going to go ahead and choose this one because it requires no setup move for me. So DP. So this is D, and then I'm going to be swapping this piece up there, right? So in this next letter pair, I'm going to be doing D, setting up to D, doing the algorithm, unsetting up D, and then I'm just going to do the algorithm because we don't have to set up for P. P is just there. But I don't want to do that. I want to try to go for 4 letters this time, right? So after we do D and P, we will have this piece in the top layer right there. So we need to figure out where this piece needs to go. It needs to go right here. That's pretty straightforward. So that's an in. So M in, in, and then this needs to go green, red, yellow here, which is IJK, right? So in K, DP in K, right? So there we go. We've got our letters and now we know what we need to do. So let's go ahead and try this out. You can do it sighted or unsighted, but it's DP in K, and you just want to get a feeling for memorizing those letter pairs and executing them. So we've got D, P, in, K. Boom. All right, there we go. We've done 4 letters. You know, we've done 2 letter pairs, and now we are here. So in this case, all we're really doing is a letter pair per corner because we have to do M, C. So if we put M to C, then it's going to solve it, right? If we just put M to A and then A to C, it's going to solve it. So MC, go ahead and try that out. M, set up to P, do the alg, right? And then we have, let's undo M, and then C, do the setup, do the alg, and then boom, MC, and that just got fixed. You know what I mean? Pretty cool, but we're still not solved, which means we have one more corner twist. This one will solve itself. You don't worry about that one. If all the other pieces are solved, this one has no other option other than to be solved. So we never really think about our buffer. All right, so in this case, we can do QRS, right? We have S to UVWX, SX, you know, however you want to view that. It doesn't matter what letter you're using. It matters that this location goes to that location, however you refer to that location. S, set up to S, do the alg, unset up to S, and then X, do the alg, and then unset up that. And then boom, it's solved. We have untwisted 2 of the corners. That's a pretty gnarly case for corners because you rarely, or I mean, not rarely, but like getting 2 twisted corners kind of sucks. But that's it. That's literally like, if you can start doing these solves, like corners solves, doing them blind, that's going to help you tremendously in your blinds journey. It's going to do a couple of things for you. It's going to help you reinforce the concept, right? But also what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to have successes way faster than like a full 3 blind solve is going to allow you to have. So maybe spend a day or two just doing these corners only scrambles. And also until you're absolutely confident that anytime you get 2 letter pairs, because they change, the letters are going to change. Anytime you get 2 letter pairs, you're not going to be confused. You're not going to mess up, you know? And then when you can truly say to yourself, I know how to do 2 letters, then move on to doing 2 letter pairs. Sorry, I know I just said 2 letter pairs, but you know what I mean? Like do 1 letter pair over and over and over again till it's boring, till it's reaching the point of being boring, and then try to do 2 letter pairs. And then try to do 3 letter pairs. And around 3 letter pairs, you might start noticing that's where there is a more challenging thing. You know, you'll realize you may forget the first letter pairs by the time you get to 3. You know what I mean? And that's where memorization techniques come into play. But if you start with trying to do like 20 letter pairs, you'll pull your hair out, you know, by trying to remember everything all the time. When really what the best part about blind solving is getting a success. So anything you can do to bring your chances of getting a success higher and higher, the better off you are. And I think despite not knowing any memory techniques or anything and only knowing this one algorithm and only doing corners, you can do a full corners only solve and memorize it and do it with your eyes closed. I truly believe that, like right now, you could, with a little bit of time, a couple of hours of work, and that feeling of having a full, like a scrambled cube, and you close your eyes and you do some moves and you set the cube down and then it is unscrambled, is genuinely magical. And you want to know what that feels like before you end up beating your head on a wall on blind. So take these corner concepts and apply them and work with them. You are doing yourself a service by holding back from 3 blind right now. Just get really good at corners and have fun with it. Like corners is great because you can really like take your time with it. You can get it really fast. You can get your corners to be really, really fast. So it's like you can do this in under a minute, you know, with a few days of practice. Just by repeatedly, you know, learning where these letters are intuitively and getting the algorithm, you know, down and knowing how to set things up and knowing how to unset them up. It's an absolute thrill, and it is a great way to start your blinds journey.